data and could compare it to the 3 years of open label extension data on the same endpoint on the MFARS, and were able to do the propensity matching because they had collected demographic data for baseline characteristics to be able to match on the important prognostic variables.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sept. I'm a clinical team lead with Rare Disease team at OND CEDAR, and I will be talking about Rare Disease Endpoint Advancement Pilot Program, which we call it RDEA. It's a joint program between CEDAR and CBER at the FDA. We talked about rare diseases, and as we all know, millions of Americans suffer from rare diseases, and there are not approved therapies for most of those individuals. And the reason are, as discussed all day, are the challenges that come with rare disease drug development, including the poorly understood natural history of the disease, the nature of these diseases being serious, life-threatening, progressive diseases. And a lot of these conditions involve pediatrics, and that is another unique challenge in rare disease drug development area, all the difficulties and challenges that come with drug development for pediatric population. Small population of the patients are another challenge with these diseases. Diversity in phenotype and genotype of these diseases, again, add to the challenges of rare disease drug development. And lack of development tools and lack of outcome measures, including biomarkers, and lack of solid translational science background. All of those add to the challenges in rare disease drug development. And one of the other challenges in rare disease drug development include the lack of clinically meaningful endpoints. That brings us to the Rare Disease Endpoint Advancement Program. RDEA pilot program is a joint CEDAR and CBER program. It's a PDUFA 7 commitment that we have implemented. And the goal of the program is to advance rare disease drug development by providing a mechanism for sponsors and stakeholders to collaborate with the FDA throughout the efficacy endpoint development process. The program opened for submission in July of 2023, which is the fourth quarter of 2023. We will be accepting one proposal for this quarter, and the submission ends September 30th, 2023. In the following years, we will continue to accept proposals into the program, 3 proposals per year, which is roughly 1 proposal per quarter. And FDA goal is transparency. Our goal is to share the information and the experience that we gain through this program with the public, and it could be in different ways. It could be development of guidance documents, public-facing websites, or public workshops, which we had our first RDEA pilot program public workshop in June of 2023, and that is publicly available on our website, and we will have hopefully 2 more workshops by 2027. I'm briefly going to talk about the eligibility criteria for these proposals. The first eligibility criteria is having an active development program under an IND or pre-IND. There are some exceptions there. We understand that some natural history studies may be exempt from IND or pre-IND, and those will be considered for admission to RDEA pilot program if they meet other requirement criteria. They should be addressing a rare disease. Again, another exception there is if the endpoint proposal is for a common disease that could be used in a rare disease, could be applicable to a rare disease if the sponsors provide adequate justification on how it's applicable to the rare disease, they may be considered for the program. And the other eligibility criteria is that novel efficacy endpoint should be intended to establish substantial evidence of effectiveness for a rare disease. For the RDEA pilot program, we define novel as an endpoint that has never been used before to support a drug approval, or it has been substantially changed from its previous use. Once we receive these proposals, FDA will send an acknowledgement acknowledgement letter to confirm receipt of the application, and then all of those submissions will go through a review process, eligibility, completeness process, and a selection process, which is a very collaborative approach between CDER and CBER, multidisciplinary review. Depending on the type of endpoint that's being submitted, we will consult other subject matter experts. For example, if the endpoint is about a surrogate biomarker, we will consult our colleagues from Office of Clinical Pharmacology, or if it's the COA, we will consult those SMEs in digital health technology or other types of endpoints. It will be a very collaborative review of those proposals to choose one final submission per quarter. 60 days after the end of each quarter, FDA will notify the sponsors about the status of their proposal, if they've been accepted to move forward or if they've been denied. And then we will go through a disclosure discussion. As we discussed, the goal of the FDA is that to share the information that we learn through these programs. So it's very important that sponsors pay attention to the disclosure elements and be aware that their proposal may be discussed through different public venues. And how do I go back? Would you please go one slide back? Whoops. Okay, the required information for these proposals include executive summary should be 1 to 2 pages, and a total of proposals shouldn't be more than 12 pages. They should include all of the required information, and if the sponsors believe that there is any additional information that will be helpful to their submission, they may add those to their proposal and to their submission. I'm going to go quickly through these required elements, including the product name, IND or pre-IND number, proposed indication. If the proposal is for a natural history program, any type of information required for that natural history, including disease epidemiology, additional information that the proposed natural history will add, how the design of natural history study provide this endpoint selection for future studies, and also a proposed timeline to design and conduct the natural history study should be provided. If the proposal is for a common disease, there should be enough information about how the endpoint will be applicable to a rare disease. There should be adequate justification that the proposed endpoint is a novel efficacy endpoint intended to establish substantial evidence of effectiveness for a rare disease. And also another required information is about how the endpoint will measure a meaningful clinical benefit for the patients, and also detailed description of the endpoint, what type of endpoint is being used, and how it will be verified, how it will be validated. Another piece of information, again, as this was discussed, it is very important to consider patient and caregivers' input. We have a very limited resource of information with rare disease space, small population size. It is very important to consider how the patient input will be included in the studies, and for the sponsors to include that information as well. A brief history of the development program is important to be included, overview of the study design, objectives, statistical plans, and elements of the endpoint novel development program that are non-disclosable. Again, those should be included in the proposal. And a list of the questions that you may have with the agency. Proposals that are accepted, that are admitted into this pilot program, have the opportunity to have up to 4 RDEA meetings with the agency. Similar to other meetings, once the sponsors submit their meeting request and a complete meeting package, the meeting will be scheduled within 45 days. And these meetings, the RDEA meetings, are totally separate from other type of meetings that the sponsors may request with the agency, including IND or pre-IND meetings or other NDA or BLA meetings. Those could be done around the same time separately, but these RDEA meetings are separate and are in addition to other type of meetings that could be provided during the drug development program. And these meetings are focused on efficacy endpoint development. So if there are other questions, sponsors may request other type of meetings for their programs. The information that is being exchanged and the discussions during the RDEA pilot program do not constitute a regulatory decision. Those are non-binding, and they do not guarantee approval of a product. If I can go to the next slide, I think. We have multiple resources at our FDA's website, all type of information for the proposals, for the meetings, deadlines, everything is there. Our email address is included there if you have any questions. If the program is for a natural history study, again, we mentioned that they they do not have to have an IND number or pre-IND number, but there are some requirements for our tracking purposes. They may request a pre-assigned application number, and the information all is included on our website. And I thank you for your attention. And I think that is my last slide. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And I believe it's